Hello, I'm Luis Gutierrez, and I have a message to share. We live in a country where our U.S. justice system is considered one of the best in the world, of course, and when it comes to protecting one's rights as an individual. But here in America, defendants are innocent until proven guilty by a jury of their peers. And this gives the illusion that the U.S. justice system gives everybody equal standing in a court of law. However, there are many examples of the faults and failures within this system, this penal system. The most notable one I can think of are bail bonds. And bail bonds are a very hot and controversial issue and have been for many years. For those of you who are not aware what bail bonds are, this is a system when a defendant is able to pay a fine that will allow them to stay out of jail and go back to their normal life, their house, their work, etc., all while they are awaiting trial. And the bail bond system creates an unfair and unbalanced justice system for the average U.S. citizen. This is because wealthier defendants can afford to pay their bail and therefore be released from jail before their trial, while low-income defendants like you and me cannot. Bail bond companies exploit ordinary people by charging high fees and interest rates to defendants who cannot afford to pay their bail. Unfortunately, this can lead to debt and financial hardship for people who cannot afford to pay these companies off. And it puts a great burden on them and their families on top of legal fees they have to pay. So, the bail bond system also disproportionately affects communities of color. Studies have shown that African Americans and Hispanic defendants are more likely to be detained before their trial, and they're less likely to be able to afford bail compared to their white counterparts. Thus, the bail bond system promotes both racial and class inequality. It is my particular belief that this bail bond system is not only unfair, it is also racially biased, and it is exploitative in nature, and it should be permanently abolished. It is really difficult to face a criminal case while you're behind bars. Eliminating the bail bond system will lead to a more equitable judicial system within the United States in which everybody would have the same opportunity to get ready for court. Abolishing this bail bond system would also prevent bond businesses from taking advantage of the vulnerable and downtrodden defendants for the sake of money. And for years now, these particular companies have charged high interest rates for their loans, and this ends up putting a burden of debt on top of all the legal fees for the poor and marginalized within our society. So a step towards ending racial inequality within the U.S. legal system would be made possible by abolishing the bail bond system. And this would be because there would no longer be a disadvantage between racial minorities who face criminal action, and it would create a level playing field for all Americans within this judicial system. And if you were to picture what this would look like, you'd realize that also over the years, many legal scandals have been involved with notable CEOs and politicians where they have the privilege to go back home because they can afford to pay these bails, and they can go live in the comfort of their homes. So you see people like Donald Trump and Sam Bankman-Fried sitting behind bars where they belong instead of being out in their expensive houses or football games, going back to their normal lives. And these rich and influential people also commit one of the most detrimental crimes to society, and they affect the economy at large. So I'm certain that these powerful people would be more hesitant to engage in these illegal activities, knowing that this unjust system, which is the bail bond system, would no longer be there to protect them, and they would not be able to buy their way out and would have to face the same repercussions as everybody else. So, what can we do? Well, it is imperative for us to work towards ending this system of bail bonds. If we want to create equality for all, this is what we must do. So, you need to send a letter to your local lawmakers expressing support for bail reform and the elimination of the bail bond industry altogether. So, you should also join support groups and organizations that are working on this reform. There are many organizations working on bail bond reform, such as the Bail Project, the National Bail Fund Network, and the ACLU. So please educate yourself by learning about the history and the impact of the bail bond system. Read books, articles, and reports on the subject, because there are many people who have been affected in a very unjust way by this. And please, whatever you do, act fast, because there are people that in jail who have been hurt by this. And I want to thank you all for your time.